Hey friends, today I want to talk a little bit about parenting. I know that's not my usual topic, but I do have a daughter myself. And I'm also very just versed in all the subconscious things that go on with children. And so it's always interesting to be able to tap into that as a parent. And I find that as we learn what's really going on subconsciously, it's so much easier to relate and to be able to use our parenting skills towards positive and inspirational change for our kids. So I wanted to take the time today just to go over that a bit. And I know even if some of you do not have kids, you will still find this quite relatable, even if that's just from understanding the perspective for other family members or people you work with. I mean, so much of our interactions come from how people reacted when they were younger and the way their life was. So it's just really interesting to be able to draw the parallels between this beautiful and sometimes complicated phase of childhood as adults. So let's go ahead and dig in. Hey friend, welcome to Deep Healing for Creative Entrepreneurs. My name is Aubrey Barr and I am a subconscious release technique practitioner and photography business owner. I know you are sick of ending your day feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, and you are seeking a solution to help you feel creatively inspired and actively engaged in your business as well as personal life. In this podcast, we are going to dig into any limiting beliefs or subconscious programs that are keeping you in a space filled with anxiety and stress. This work is not a temporary solution for your life. No, this is a complete transformation. So grab your coffee or tea and let's start you on the road to healing. And let me just say, you can do this. You are worth it. And you are meant to thrive in life and business. So let's dig in. In my experience, there has been two things that happen in adulthood that absolutely grab a hold of those childhood traumas that you have not healed from yet and remind you of them and say, hey, we need to take care of this. And those two things are, one, running a business, and two, parenting, right? And even if it's not your biological child, just being in a parent type role reminds you of those things. So like, I have a kid who started middle school and things are a bit crazy right now. It seems like we have some hormones coming in, not necessarily for her, but just like everybody in general, her other friends that she's relating to or not. And just like a different atmosphere has started to happen with these 11 to 12-year-olds. And I'm just sitting back going, oh my goodness, I try so hard not to pass on my insecurities from when I was a kid, right? Which a lot of them are around not fitting in or being overlooked or, kind of flying under the radar. And so when things come up for her, I am like automatically going back to that place and being like, oh my goodness, I can heal these things now. I have the tools. And believe me, I have been working on it like crazy. So it's good on one end, right? You have that side where you're like, oh yes, I do need to heal this. Thank you. But then there's the other side where you really don't want anything or anyone for that matter to get in the way of that like beautiful childhood innocence where you expect so much good from people and ultimately just get shattered, right? Because we've all seen it. We've all experienced some kind of betrayal in some way, or just a moment where we understood that not everybody has good intentions. Right? So that's, as parents, we're like, no, I'd like to keep that for longer, but we know it's inevitable. Right? And so when I was thinking about this podcast episode, and I know it's slightly different from what I normally talk about, I just want you guys to think about it from a perspective of understanding that everybody has their own stories they're taking with them. And when we're in the presence of our children, we get to see those stories unfold. And if you've been a listener for a while, you know that there's just like absolutely no way you are going to raise a child without them getting some kind of subconscious programming, whether good or bad or indifferent. They are going to be getting those because they are so perceptive and they are picking up on everything that goes on day in, day out whether that's at home or at church or at school or just playing in the backyard with some friends. Like, you never know everything and how they perceive everything. And so it's super, super interesting. But understanding the subconscious mind is a whole other world. So if you go to pick up your child and they say, hey, it was a bad day today. Well, why was it a bad day? And you kind of talk to them about it, and they come up with this story about how someone, completely ignored them today, and they just didn't want to be their friend anymore, and all these things were going on, and you just, kind of listen and eventually ask, did they say they didn't want to be your friend anymore? And actually, no, they didn't. They just didn't talk today, or they just kind of sat in the corner. And it's like having to help your child to shift their perspective is actually very helpful as an adult, to see that sometimes we are internalizing so much about what other people do and what their decisions are, and it really has nothing to do with us. Like, I feel like we should really err on the side of, this has nothing to do with me. For instance, in this case, there could have been something major going on at home, or it could be something small. Maybe they forgot their homework or whatever. That makes someone not want to talk, not be in a good mood, kind of want to be chill, or by themselves. And this just goes to show, like, all those times when we're running our business and we, don't get a message back from a client after we respond to them, or, we get completely ghosted sometimes, which I'm totally not excusing because I know it hurts deep, but it's just reality. It happens sometimes, and we will automatically assume it has something to do with us. We will go to the side of, they obviously don't want to work with me. They obviously don't like what I had to say, or maybe I quoted them a price that was too high, or maybe I responded and what I said sounded rude to them, or whatever it could be. But we automatically do that. So it's funny when we see our children do that and we're like trying to correct them, and at the same time we're recollecting all the times we've done it, even as adults. We're like, oh, that's right. I actually do that too. Sometimes I'll tell my daughter that. I'll say, you know what? I've done that because it's true. We internalize what's going on with other people so much. And I feel like as parents, if we can truly understand that part of the problem, part of the issues going on at school or just with our child in general, could be that they're just internalizing what other people are acting like and making it about them. And that's not really from a place of selfishness or anything like that. I mean, for their entire lives, we've raised them to know that they are important, right? Hopefully, we've raised them to know that we're going to make sure their needs are met. We're going to feed you. We're going to give you everything you need. You're going to have a bed, right? Those are things that we have taught them that they get to have. And so when other people around them don't act like they are number one, it's really hard for them to understand. So it's a great learning experience, but at the same time, a super good chance for us to look inside too and say, man, how much of these am I actually carrying around? This is why I have an entire module in the Deep Healing for the Creative Soul course that deals with just childhood programming, because all of those things that just happened that maybe aren't described as, quote, trauma. They're not described as a disturbing, memory, but most of all, they're just overlooked and disregarded because it's not a big deal, right? You wouldn't think that something small like not fitting in or being shooed out of your friend group when you were 10 is going to cause any issues as an adult. And we don't really want to think that. A lot of people will shy away from making that realization. And I think the biggest reason why is because of fear, because they don't know how to fix it. They don't think that there's a way to fix it. They think that, this is just how I am and that's fine. And I'll just, continuing being me, even if it's hard sometimes or whatever. They just accept it as part of their life. They don't really want to look at the nitty gritty. And that is because they are probably scared too, right? You have fear of just digging into it. What else am I going to find out? I get that one a lot with my clients. Some people feel like they have memory blocks around things because they don't want to face them, which definitely does happen too. But the overall picture being, why drag up something I can't do anything about? And I don't know how else to say childhood trauma is a real thing without using that sentence right there, because we really feel like there's nothing we can do about it. And that is so far from the truth. At least if you do the subconscious work, if you're able to detach that story from the actual emotions you were feeling in that time, then you can do something about it. There's absolutely hope to be able to recover from some of these things that went on in childhood. And so it's just about the way you look at it and the knowledge and the tools at your fingertips. And do you choose to use them, right? So don't let these scary things take you away from being a good parent by avoiding them or by, oh, it's fine, it's no big deal. I say that, okay? I definitely do say that to my kid. But I always remind them that there might be something here worth learning. There might be, a situation here where maybe it's better that we're not friends with them, or maybe it's a really good chance to look inside and say, well, what kind of people do I value being around? And does this person even fit that mold now that they're being mean or, not including you or whatever it could be, right? So just being able to change that, look inward and help them to be able to see that their feelings towards the situation is really coming from inside. Because that's going to be the most useful thing for them as they grow and as they get older. This is a really amazing way to look inside, be able to name what those feelings are. Well, why does that bother me? Ask some questions, right? We talked about questions a few episodes back. You're welcome to take those questions and use those to ask your kids. But it really helps them to say, oh, this is why I'm feeling that. And this is, maybe something I can do to help it. So anyway, I hope that's super helpful to you guys. I know this isn't a parenting podcast, but I am a mom, and this is absolutely a subject that comes up a lot since so much of what we work through comes from childhood. Like, why not in those moments be able to shift things a bit for our kids and make their lives a little bit more understandable and easier for them? So share this, if you will, with anybody who might need some extra insight on what their kid is going through right now, or how to help them, rearrange that in their own head so that they can receive some answers and some guidance. Oh, and one more thing, if you guys haven't signed up to the email list, do so this week. I have 300 spots for my perfectionist course, Creatively Perfectionist. And that's going to be free for people, the first 300 people on the email list. They're going to have the opportunity to get the coupon code and get in for free. So if that's you or not you, fix it. I'll leave that in the show notes. And I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. All right. See you later. I hope this podcast spoke to you in some way. If it did, please go ahead and leave me a review and subscribe so that I know you're enjoying what you hear. And further, if you know somebody else who owns their own creative business and struggles with anything that we spoke about, please pass this on, because it is my hope that we will be able to build a community of like-minded individuals who love on each other and appreciate the many facets that make our creative business so unique. And lastly, check out the show notes to find my free Facebook community and other useful links to work with me. All right, friends, see you soon.